As entrepreneurs, you work really freaking hard. And you may be overlooking one of your best business assets. It's an asset that impacts your success, your feelings of success, your happiness at home, at work. Your every being could be impacted by how you treat this asset. It's an asset you may not even think of as a business asset. It's your significant other. I grew up in an entrepreneurial household. My dad owned a commercial real estate firm, and together, both of my parents started a school. In spite of the many ups and downs over the years, I am proud to say both businesses still exist today. So I guess it's not too surprising that I ended up married to a serial entrepreneur. While I was getting my degree in human development and family science, my curiosity about the nature of entrepreneurial relationships took over. I wrote my thesis on spousal satisfaction in entrepreneurial couples. It was at that time that I committed to a research and coaching practice focused specifically in that area. We've learned some fascinating things that are going to be of benefit to you and how you take care of your number one asset, your relationship with your significant other. Today's talk is based on just a small sampling of over 102,000 data points of my research from current entrepreneurs and their significant others worldwide, 60% of whom are EOers, just like you. We finally have measurable results from highly satisfied entrepreneurial couples. We've learned there are things you can do to increase your business success, increase your happiness, solidify your relationships. And the results show it may even improve your sex lives. There are 4 key ways to do this: sharing more information about the business, creating a joint blueprint or a shared vision for your future, deeply appreciating each other's contributions, and establishing certain communication protocols. My first point is about sharing more information about the business. Imagine this. Jim was close to all the success he ever wanted. He was certain that the second round of VC funding for his medical device company was going to come, and not a minute too soon. He answered the phone, and the VC partner said, "Not everyone's on board. Maybe if you gave us a little bit more information about your testing, I could still convince the other partners to get back on board." Jim's heart sank. He then remembered he was having lunch with his wife, Sue, that day, and he didn't know whether to tell her or not. If he did tell her and they got the deal, he just burdened her with undue stress. If he didn't tell her, he'd have to carry the weight alone, and she might be shocked if they didn't get the funding. You may have found yourself in a similar situation. To share or not to share? That is the question. How many of you out there right now are thinking, I don't want to share more information about the business? No, put your hands down. I don't really want to know. But what I want you to know is that your spouses do want to know more about the business. The data confirms they do want to know more. Now, they may not want you to bombard, or they may not want you, your spouses may not want you to bombard them with every single thought that you have in your head. You know who you are who do that. My husband is included in that group. And they may actually enjoy a dinner conversation that's not all about the business. But overall, they do want to know more intimate details about the business. Sharing those intimate details, calling it our company instead of your company, that's what helps make your spouse feel a part of it. The data shows, surprisingly, that the more you share, the more confident your spouse is in your ability to succeed as an entrepreneur. The more you share, the more they believe you can do this. The data also shows that while many entrepreneurs actually do think of their spouses as a business asset, many spouses don't believe that they are important in any capacity to the success of the business. When Sue saw the look on Jim's face that day, she knew something was wrong. She didn't know the details, but she knew. Jim opted not to share with her that day, and she felt his distance. Over the years, the more Jim chose to hide from Sue, the more Sue found it difficult to support his dreams. My second point is about creating a joint blueprint or a shared vision for your future. This is the point about creating buy-in from your significant other. Because if you have a shared vision that has components that are important to both of you, that makes this roller coaster ride a little bit easier. But if you want one thing out of life and your spouse wants something completely different, well, that's where trouble really ensues. So we asked everyone the question, overall, I am satisfied with the quality of my life. We compared the answers of entrepreneurs, their significant others, and couples where both individuals were entrepreneurs. We were surprised to find that this first category of entrepreneurs scored lowest in terms of overall satisfaction. So we took a look at the database to try to figure out, is there any way that we can help entrepreneurs increase their satisfaction? And this is what we found. Entrepreneurs who set shared long-term business and family goals with their significant others scored higher in every single area of satisfaction, including overall life satisfaction. This graph is just an illustration of entrepreneurs who set shared business goals. And this next one is a graph of entrepreneurs who set shared family goals. Now, we looked at about 16 different measures of satisfaction, and we found that entrepreneurs who set those shared goals were upwards of 32% happier than those who didn't share those goals. In my own life, my husband Derek and I have spent many hours visualizing what we want out of our lives and figuring out why we're on this journey. But what really impacted me the most was when I realized that I would be able to fund my own research dreams by continuing to support Derek in his business dreams. I realized that I would be able to do my work and my research, and that someday it would be my turn, and I could do this from a position of strength. So my challenge for you is to go home and sit down with your significant other and come up with a shared vision for your future. We're going to talk about that and all of these points in much greater detail during the workshop. My third point is about deeply appreciating each other's contributions. What's one way to enhance your relationship? Or any relationship really, whether you're in one, a personal one or not, is to deeply appreciate each other's contributions and do that consciously. A well-known couples researcher, John Gottman, figured out why some relationships last and why some don't. The science says that a stable and happy relationship is based on 5 positive interactions to every 1 negative interaction. This theory has been deemed the magic 5-to-1 ratio. So what's one way to enhance your 5-to-1 positive ratio? And what's one way to show appreciation, especially for an entrepreneur? Well, again, in my own life, when I was bringing home a small salary, I was lamenting to Derek how utterly frustrating it was that he could make the same amount of money in such a short period of time. And he looked at me and said, I would have thought this would have been obvious. But every dollar you bring home is $1 less I have to take out of the company. That was a different perspective I hadn't thought of. And suddenly, where I was feeling like my salary was relatively insignificant, I now knew not only was it contributing to our household income, it was also helping the business. Apparently, I'm not the only spouse to think that way. What this graph is showing is that while 63% of entrepreneurs valued their spouse's financial contributions to the household, only 37% of spouses thought their income mattered. That is a huge difference in perception that could be minimized by a greater level of direct appreciation. So this 5-to-1 ratio is a really good thing. Now, I'm not standing up here saying you should say thanks for every little thing, but be very specific and conscious about what you say thanks for. Going back to yesterday, that's what Lex was saying. This is actually how you end up getting more than you give. My fourth point is about creating certain communication protocols. As with all couples, communication about money is the #1 issue in most marriages. Our database shows that 65% of entrepreneurs have had cash flow problems just within the last year. And about 81% have had cash flow problems at some point in time since they started their business. So we ask the question, during these times of great economic strife, great challenge, how do you feel that you as a couple handled this stress? The #1 response of spouses was we supported each other fully. The #1 response of entrepreneurs, our sex life decreased. You can laugh now. We supported each other fully was actually the entrepreneur's #5 response. So what that tells me is that while your spouses want to and believe that they are supporting you fully, you're not getting what you need to feel supported. Maybe during those times what you heard was, "Why didn't you do this?" Or simply, "What the hell happened?" Saying, "Honey, you're not using Gestalt protocol, and that makes me feel defensive," isn't going to work in most of your situations. So how can you share in a way that makes you feel supported and makes your spouse feel both supportive and heard simultaneously? Well, the trick, going back to our #1 point, is to share and share often. Because when your spouse knows what the hell happened, you've taken away the shock factor. And there's no one to blame. You may even get to hear some objections early. You may hear, "Honey, I don't want to put $50,000 on our credit cards to pay our employees' salaries. Let's come up with another solution." And maybe you can and maybe you can't. But at least you've come to that decision together. As I was doing my research, I'm also doing a number of interviews. And I interviewed an EO couple. He's an EO, and she has been in Spousal Forum. And they shared with me what I thought was an amazing example of what they do to communicate. Once a month, they hold a couples forum with just the two of them. That's the time that they really share what's going on in their lives. She told me that she didn't always feel like she communicated in a way that said, "I'm on your side." And by creating that forum atmosphere between the two of them, really helped her communicate in a way that didn't make her entrepreneur feel defensive. I thought you could really appreciate and understand that example. After all, you're on the same team. And coming at these everyday decisions together helps build trust between the two of you. And it also helps your spouse feel like more of a business asset. There's no easy way to say, "Honey, we're in trouble." But if you've come to that point together, with both of your eyes wide open, then you can come out of that point together, and perhaps a little stronger. So these are 4 ways that you can really enhance your greatest business asset. And I'd like to invite you all to come to the workshop where both Derek and I will be speaking in much greater detail about this information. But there's one last statistic I'd really like to share with you. And this is what you need to know above all else. When we asked your spouses if they knew what was going to happen to them being married to an entrepreneur, this crazy roller coaster ride we're on, would they still have married you? You'll be happy to know their answers, oh my gosh, were a resounding yes. Your spouses truly love you, and they are your #1 business asset. Thank you.